Hello. Now, I said that I would actually make this video, and I am, but I'm also going to make a really good warning about this, because sometimes people get into this stuff and they don't know what they're getting into. Now, I do know that a lot of the ways that you could say kinetic abilities, magnetic structure abilities, etc. It's just something that humans can do that science does not understand yet, or there is no science for it just yet. But you know how alchemy turned out to be. It turned out to be chemistry. It turned out to be medicine, etc. It turned out to be a lot of things. But a lot of people around here I might stop for a few seconds if I have somebody passing. I don't want somebody to stop and talk about this stuff to me, because a lot of people are fairly sensitive about it. Yes, I know that's a little stupid. Anyways, picking up where I left off, a lot of what I'm saying is that it is definitely a pursuit of science about how kinetic abilities, psychokinetic abilities, static energy abilities, etc. This is just a label for things that you just don't really truly understand. Now, what I'm going to show you is fairly simple, but it regards to a psychokinetic ability that was shown to me before, and I've been able to do it once before. As you can see, these trees, it is very active with the wind. I'm not very good with wind. I've done a vast amount of experimentation and personal training with this. I absolutely need an area that is very windy to be able to use anything at all. But water and fire, that seems to be my main go-to element, because I can just say water is everywhere. You can use it and do whatever you want with it. The basis of aquakinetic ability is being able to turn it into something you can use. This is just with one hand. This is not easy. Being able to change the temperature of the water, hold it, and move it somewhere where you can actually use it. Now, I'll shut this camera off and show you a little bit more of it, and you can already see it's shifted. Of course, this is due to the wind slightly, but that's just the surface area. What's beneath the water, it also matters. Alright, be right back. Alright, one thing I want to note, water level is fairly low. This pond I've actually been training with for several years now. That pipe actually has been underwater for several days now. The entire shoreline has gone down extremely vastly quickly. Why is that? Well, I live in an area that has a lot of sand in it, so it drains into underground rivers, lakes, whatever else. But being able to know this also is part of using aquakinesis, because if you don't know what the area is like and what you're doing with it, you will more than likely end up creating something a little less beknownst to you, and you will infect the environment adversely. This is also true for the energy that you use. This is also true for what technique you use. But it's never really a problem for you personally unless you make it that way. Now, I'll show you a few pictures of certain signs or symbols like ninjutsu or whatever else you want to say, this anime stuff or whatever, that I've been working with and seems to affect with certain amounts of focus and the appropriate knowledge of how to apply it. Now, say fire sign, but it's also like this. This one, appropriately, is how you, it reflects the same side, and you project out your two fingers here. Okay. See, notice that I'm doing a nice fluid motion. Focus, intent. Use the wind to your advantage. Always focus on the water. I don't know if you can see that now. Wind's changed. Temperature of the water's changed slightly. If I could measure that, I would, but I don't have a boat. Now it is moving towards me, as you can see. You can turn the water, turn it to a different direction using the wind, the surface area, but also underneath the water there's something else going on that you can't really measure. It definitely requires an advanced ability like the ones I'm showing. But I also have something else that pretty much started me out on this. This is the kind of staff that they used in Egypt to control crocs. Now, they pretty much just grab them on the head and do whatever else. But this is also something else that I can probably say that this shape, when you put it on the water, it creates two ripples, as you can see there. Now this is just a tool, obviously. But it gives you an idea of how the surface area and what's below the water. Say, put it right there. See if we can get, there we go. See, what's below the water also matters. You have the refraction of how it works, so you can actually see what you're actually doing below the surface versus what you're doing on the surface. That's the idea of this. It took me a while to be able to use staff like this to be able to get the idea of, okay, what happens on the surface does not happen beneath the surface. There's always a difference between what water does to flow in a certain direction versus what it does as current below what that well, somewhat glossy to, well, you get the idea. Wind picks up. Doing this in a circular motion, you can already see right on the surface there that it's creating a small whirlpool. Right where I'm pointing. Now this is only for glass like lakes, rivers, streams. This will only work with that. Any kind of major flowing water, I have not tried this with, and I will not try it with, because water has a tendency to act on its own will, so to speak. It's basically like crystals. If you know what crystals are and how they work compared to certain things, that's pretty much what I'm talking about. Now, your stance. You're doing this, I'm doing this on a dock, obviously. So, basically, shoulder width apart. You want to have at least a small connection of your feet planting into the water itself, and it actually connecting up through and then causing an intent. Now, for me, I'm able to do this just sitting, obviously, but as you can see, it's completely glass. Now, shoulder width apart. Have the wind pick up. You notice that I'm using the wind. This is why I wanted to have a very, or at least somewhat windy day, because I am not good with aerokinetic ability. Bringing it up towards me. This has a property of this specific pond. it really wants me to be able to pull anything towards me. Now, you can also do the reverse of that by creating a sort of vortex around you in two different directions. One spinning around you in a horseshoe pattern. One spins at the end of the horseshoe clockwise, the other around in the other direction counterclockwise. This is your field. This is how you actually direct the wind to go where you want it to go. That doesn't mean you really can outdo yourself with it, but it does the job nonetheless. Back to glass. It was choppy a second ago. I manipulated it. Now with the other hand. It's a proof concept. Wind picks up. Speed up the speed of your hand. Hold it in place. Make it move towards you. There you go. Hold it. You can just do it with a flat hand as well. This works as well. Or you can split it off. Project it out of all your fingers, not just one. The styles are actually simple, but the concept is the same. Make sure you project out of your hand and through your fingers and towards the water. Project your intent, project your own will, and eventually you'll get the idea that, hey, there's something going on here. There's something that you cannot explain. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, something else I want to discuss. A person that said that grids, well, I don't know if you can see any grids or anything like this, because you know how videos are. Doesn't really show any energy. But in this pattern, there is a cylinder in the center of this pond and projects out a web-like pattern. Now this actually is used to be able to train, to be able to know which direction the water is moving, which way how they actually use certain elements to well, create the desired effect. For this, you obviously see the effect is to be able to change the direction of the surface area, the temperature, and how the current moves in the water. Now there should be no current, and yet there is. I'm not focusing on it, just watching, just observing. doing what I said with a horseshoe technique, using the wind. Breathing. That's the key for this. Always breathe. Make sure you know which way the direction is going. That cylinder also can measure air current. It comes out of the water. Projecting the two ends of the horseshoe behind me. Switching it over to my left-hand side. Focus. As I do this, why don't you go still a little bit for a few moments. And then pick up in a different direction. See the surface starting to move in a different direction. This is a little stressful for me. I haven't been training in a little while. It's causing me a little bit of issue. Not to mention, I kind of injured myself a little bit while doing this. If you project out of one hand, like you continue to do, I don't know if you can see that, but there's this one little bump right about there. You push yourself too much and you can get yourself hurt. It's like exercise. You have to continuously do this, otherwise you will end up in a major world hurt. And in my case, a minor injury, because I've been doing this for so long. I'm just now starting to actually get it back into it. And if you've been off for a while, then that's a problem. Alright, we'll continue this discussion back at the trailer. Okay, now obviously I was doing things with only one hand, but the premise of this is to be able to use both hands, but you can use it with left or right, whichever your dominant hand is. Now this is actually something that I've been able to do just recently. This is sort of a mastery way of doing it. I'm not going to say it's a perfect mastery, but it is close. Now, when you start out, I was using a tool. I was seeing how the water works, measuring how the currents of the water are. This is something that you really need to put a little bit of scientific knowledge into. How the environment works, how you are able to deal with the environment, and then use the said environment and turn it to your advantage. Now, I personally, for me and me alone, that pond has been a very, very good godsend for me. I don't say godsend quite literally, because obviously I have a more in-depth perspective of that. I'm sorry if I'm trying to go against things, but nonetheless, I've been able to figure out, okay, the water is fine when this and this works, and the water is not able to be manipulated when this and this factors put into play. That is either wind or the temperature of the water. Those two things are the major part of how the heck you are able to deal with it.
Now, you have to have this open to the elements. The water cannot be set somewhere where, okay, I can just take a little bit of water to change the temperature of the cup to do whatever you want just by touching it. That won't work. You have to have it in an environment like I was training in prior. That's something you have to start with. If you want to try to move on to streams and stuff like that to try to split or alter it anyway, which I was doing back where I came from, I could not do that without the wind or something else getting in the way. There is a difference between moving water and stagnant water, like a pond or a lake or something else that you could say is at least somewhat polluted. But that's the difference between, like, okay, you have ice, steam, and then you have some other things. I mean, clouds are practically water vapor as it is. If you don't have enough water in the air, you will not be able to manipulate the water in the general area that you want to be able to do anything with. Now, as for the grids that I put up, a spider web-like grid, it basically they branch out in a sunbeam pattern, and then you have lines that correspond to where the energy you want to radiate out from that one point. Now, yes, it's a small grid, is a small pond. I pretty much could recommend that you would start with a pond because that's the only real way to learn. Start small, work your way up to something bigger. I actually started with something a little bit bigger than myself. I do not recommend that. A stream or something, or a canal or something like that that you have close by your house that you can actually access, that you can train with, you can actually use.